What is good, y'all? It is Bible Stories Revisited, and I'm here for another non-stamp collector reaction. I'm gonna really be binging these just so I can get like my reaction video practice in for my other channels and to like I guess in a way re-put, you know what I'm saying, any attention on this channel. Like all of these videos are more than 10 years old, so they definitely have a history and everything like that. Um, but even still,
Business download speeds are up to 20 times faster than T-Mobile and AT&T 5.
just because the
Well, it turns
information
out
is available doesn't mean that people will go out and seek it, you know? We have a lot of stuff in our face, so I feel like for anyone who hasn't seen this channel, this might be my opportunity to link it to you if you're in need of it. Because I know in my stage, validation is important. And just like with certain people who are in religious spaces who genuinely believe that they need that validation from other people to continue to uphold their faith, I feel like just so that we don't look like we the crazy people, just looking at things a little bit more logical and what is actually I like this channel the most because they say stuff that is actually in the book. And in the corner, I think like my OBS is a little bit messed up, but in the corner, they'll literally give you the Bible verse so you can read it for yourself so that they know, or that like that this isn't getting put out of context. This is exactly what they mean. But this is one where like when I was getting taught like growing up, they made sure to like cover this early. And when I like went back and like really took into the Bible, I understood why they took so much time to like put the apologetics in me early because it's a little messed up. And I feel like this video will really show it. If anything, if I have an idea how this guy makes his videos, he'll show us why biblical slavery is a lot different than the slavery that we went through. And this is one thing I'll always, not always, but I have always said to people is like, I don't believe that we, like, even at when I was a Christian, I didn't believe that we were God's chosen people because of the fact that we went through slavery and God did not deliver us out of it. But with the story with Moses and everything, those were God's chosen people and he delivered them out of slavery. But there are many examples in the Bible where you see God's okay with slavery as long as it is not his chosen people. Okay? And people would teach me early, like, oh no, slavery in the Bible is only like an indentured servitude. But that's only if you're looking at Israelite people, aka God's chosen people. Um, this book is a lot more exclusive and like, you know, it's not as inclusive of everybody as you think it is. Like in the New Testament, yes, it like tries to tie it all together. But the fact that the verses in the Old Testament are still there and the Bible's supposed to be intertwining, all working together. So any piece of the Bible should be the Word of God and what He says, right? Okay, so why then is it like when they went on their little excursion, taking like several nations and everything, they'd be like, yeah, you can keep them as slaves and everything like that. Oh, for life too. They're not your people. And it's like, okay, these are verses of God saying slavery is good as long as it's not my people. So I am under the assumption that, because I'll tell people there's not one verse that just says slavery's bad, don't own a human. But there are so many examples of just, oh no, just have an indentured servitude. Or, oh my gosh, there was one where it's just like, well, you can run away from your master. And in the Bible, it's like, you're not supposed to give the person up to your master. A whole bunch of unnecessary loopholes. Like, the creator of everything, it shouldn't be that hard just to say, don't own other people. Slavery is wrong. But it doesn't say that because in the timing that things were, people benefited from slaves, and the people in, yeah, like the people in power benefited from slaves. So I'm not going to get into that actually. That's my yap. I've been yapping for quite some time. It's never gonna stop. I'm gonna always have a long ass yapping video. I might just put like when the video actually starts in like a timestamp or something, just so you know what I'm saying, y'all can get straight to it. But if y'all are here to hear me yap, y'all can do that. I won't stop you, but yeah. Um, we'll get into this video and yeah, I'll get out y'all hair. But yeah, there's so many like apologetics with like, yeah, Bible slavery is so much different. But the thing is, with you being the creator, bruh, it's that easy for you to be like, man, you know what? Don't own people at all. It's wrong. If only, right? But let's get it. That's enough yapping. Let's start the video. Hey, if it lets me. Okay.
A lot worse than we figured. They're going to be stealing from each other, lying, being cruel. A lot worse than we figured. They're going to be stealing from each other, lying, being cruel, even hating each other and killing each other. This whole fall from grace is worse than we expected.
What about haircuts?
Lord?
Sir?
The hair on the side of their heads and their beards, do they end up cutting that?
Well, I'll check. Yes.
Why did I make the fruit of that tree so deliciously tempting? No, that's not on. I want that.
They talked about killing, lying, all the others. He said, what about haircuts? What about haircuts? Ban them from cutting the sides of
Lord,
their
a ban on
heads.
cutting the hair on the side of their head. Moving on.
Leviticus
Lord, it seems that this
19:27.
sinful nature messes them up so bad that they actually abuse children in some
Do
cases.
they wear clothes made of wool and linen woven together?
That was another one. Can't have mixed
Yes.
threads.
Right, that too. Absolute ban on that.
If we may, can we direct you towards the things we think you need to be equally clear on?
Yeah, I heard you
Equally
killing each
clear.
other, stealing, sitting on chairs that menstruating women have been sitting on.
Well, those first
Sitting on chairs that menstruating women have been sitting on.
yes, are you going to prohibit them?
Yes.
Good.
And
Well,
Hey, if you live in one of these cities right here, why don't you own
They
an
still
apartment
get
building?
ads
Seriously,
over
let me show you a path.
tattoos as well. No tattoos. I am the Lord.
I am the Lord.
Lord, you hate oppression and cruelty and stealing just as much as tattoos, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, thank goodness for that, because we've got something that you really need to look at then.
What are they doing?
Well, slavery, Lord.
Slavery, eh?
Yes, and on a massive scale, Lord. It begins right away, and looking at the projections, it seems that some of the larger and more powerful civilizations that arise think that it's okay to forcibly take literally millions of people from the continent of Africa, mainly, and make them work for them and practically build their nations for them. Humans actually steal their fellow humans and deprive them of all liberty and dignity for their entire life. They're captured, shackled, often branded, and crammed into boats and shipped overseas where they're sold and literally worked to death. Children are born into slavery and live out their entire lives as slaves, not knowing a single day of freedom.
Africans, you said.
Well, yeah, Africa is going to take the brunt of this, Lord, in the long term. You need to set a clear example of your compassion here, Lord. It's very simple. I mean, you love righteousness and justice, right, Lord? This is just about the worst violation of those imaginable.
Right.
Yes,
Well, let's
it
do it
is.
then. It's
Let's make something. We about to do this. About to make the verse. The verse that says all slavery is wrong. It doesn't exist. But let's see what Jesus
Something that
comes
I
up
really
with.
need to be very clear about. Let's get this absolutely right once and for all.
Let's get it right.
I certainly am glad to hear you say that, Lord. So it's really up to you as far as the wording goes. Do you want a do not commandment or a you must not commandment?
If only, right?
Well, so far you've got do not invoke the names of other gods, do not allow a sorceress to live. Both of those are very unambiguous, so we could have do not own another person as property. Or do you want you must not own another person's property, like you have you must not eat any fat or any blood?
Yeah,
I'd
hang
go
on.
with you must not.
must
It's
not
kind of
eat any
stronger,
fat.
don't you think? I think so. There's not much chance of misinterpretation there. Yeah, but do not is more of a kind
Hold
of
on, hold on.
imperative.
Yeah, do not
Look,
say it, no.
the owning people aspect of it, I don't mind so much.
Oh,
Were there any other aspects of it that you were concerned about?
Well, Lord, the idea of owning people as property is probably a good place to start when abolishing slavery, don't you think?
Whoa, hold on. Who's abolishing anything?
Well, Lord, you abolished cross-dressing a minute ago. Don't you think that slavery is equally detestable?
or
tricky,
more
isn't it?
detestable? Tricky.
Not really,
really.
Lord, no. In fact, these sinful, fallen humans will outlaw it themselves eventually. Yeah, Lord, just
Literally.
command it and it's done. You must not buy and sell people.
No, look, that aspect in and of itself isn't so much of a concern either.
Lord, what?
No, if it's a runaway slave seeking refuge, then that's obviously different. But if it's a fair and square commercial deal, then...
Lord,
I think that's the verse I was talking about. I think it said Deuteronomy 23:15, where like if you run away and like you try to seek refuge somewhere, the person is like, you must not bring that slave back to their master because they were running. So they'll use that as a good justification of, see, they're able to run away. But there's me being a creator, bro. If I created like living beings that had the ability to think for themselves and everything like that, and I gave like specific rules on the way that they live, I think I would make it very clear that owning people is one of the worst things they could do. They're worried about haircuts. They're worried about sitting in the same seat that menstruating women have sat in. They're worried about the fabric of your clothing. But not once in the Bible does it just say, don't own other people. Not once. And I would try to justify it. I would try to be like, hey, maybe. Like, before I started, like, just not believing in this God at all, I would just be like, maybe this God is here, but he just doesn't fuck with us. Clear as day. Because, you know what I'm saying? I was, like, heavily indoctrinated. Not like heavily, but like I went to a Christian academy, went to church almost every Sunday and a couple of Wednesdays. And it's like, yeah, they have like these apologetics and like stuff that they'll be like, okay, moving on, let's not even think too hard on this, or you might think of other stuff that we cannot explain away. So when I see stuff like this, it's just sad that not once in the Bible, the many times they had re-edited, added stuff in the Bible, all of that, not once could they have just been like, let's just take away slavery altogether. Maybe it's because by the time they were done editing it, they thought that slavery was always going to be a good thing. Slavery definitely was still around when they stopped editing the Bible. Not to say that they still aren't editing the Bible, but like the crazy edits, the stuff that like, I'm not gonna get into that. No.
are you saying that they may buy slaves?
Are you?
Well, it depends on...
Depends.
Disgusting.
On what?
Well, you mentioned some situation in the future to do with slaves from Africa,
Yes, Lord.
and that they're taken from Africa to other countries.
Yes, exactly.
Well, see, the slaves are from a different country, so...
Said as long as it's not God's
Um,
people.
Oh, I see. You guys were thinking that the slaves were going to be my people, the Israelites. No.
This
Oh, no
guy.
wonder you're so confused.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
sorry. Okay, look, we're obviously talking about
This
two
guy.
different things, okay? My people aren't allowed to do this to each other, okay? Put this down, okay? You must not rule over your fellow Israelites ruthlessly. Your slaves are to come from the nations around you. From them, you may buy slaves.
Whoa, Lord, what are you
An
saying?
Israelite owning another Israelite as a slave wouldn't be okay. They're only allowed to keep each other in indentured servitude.
Okay,
Right?
hold
However
on,
bad
hold
this
on.
African slavery thing gets in the future, look, it's a totally different
You're
thing.
okay
see?
with people being made slaves? What, for life?
Well, no. After 6 years, they have to be set free and provided for with food and wine and even livestock when they go. See, it's like a retirement benefit.
Hold on,
And you're comparing it to some kind of slavery.
What, they can go back to Africa?
Huh? No, I'm not talking about foreign slaves.
Lord, but
You're a bit
that's
hung
what
up on this Africa thing. Look, I'm talking about the Israelites. They have to free each other from indentured servitude.
Yes,
in
yes, Lord.
years.
Lord, I get that you're talking about Israelite indentured servants, but what about the foreign slaves, though?
Foreign, see, they're from different nations. So,
They stay slaves for life?
no. Indentured servants go free after 6 years. You're not
no,
seeing
we
this
want to
clearly.
talk about
And
it.
listen,
Stop
listen,
going back to
Israelite
the other
indentured
point.
servants have to be treated kindly and released at the end of 6 years.
No, Lord, foreigners.
Bro, this is me. This is like me trying to have conversations with certain people, and it's like, bro, cognitive dissonance is real, y'all. Like, you can hammer a point home, and some people just can't grasp it. They have to go back to their safeguard, their safe haven of an excuse, and they can't creatively think out of the box and think of anything else to say. They have to regurgitate the apologetics they were taught in church. They can't think for themselves. And that's just that's like the part that hurts the most. It's like, dang, this junk really got a control over you. And like, it hurts because it had a control over me too. So it's like, I have nothing but sympathy for those people. You know what I'm saying?
What?
And it's crazy because I used to feel the same way except flipped when I was a Christian trying to talk to atheists. And I couldn't get through to them. So I see both sides of this. You know what I'm saying? It's just, dang, yeah.
Well, do they get freed? The foreigners that they buy as slaves?
No. You can make them slaves for life.
Whoa.
But the Israelites are to be freed, see? It's a totally different arrangement, okay? You can't even compare it with
You're
slavery.
mandating lifetime slavery.
Why do you keep implying that the Israelites can keep each other as slaves when I'm telling you that they can't? It's just not slavery. It's a totally
Why am
different
I acting
thing.
like I'm
This is
in this
something that they're just as
roundhouse
likely to
meeting?
opt into voluntarily. Look, it's more like a safety net. If they can't pay their debts, they might
talking
opt
about
in
the
to be
indentured
someone's servant for a period of
servants.
years until they all go free again and all
We're
their
not
debts are
talking
paid.
about that, though, Lord. Can I just bring you back to these foreign slaves, Lord,
Please.
being sold into bondage for life?
It's a totally different thing.
You seem to be commanding oppressive lifetime slavery.
Man,
Israelite indentured servitude has nothing to do with that, though. This is totally different to that.
Lord.
Don't you know that if an Israelite kills his indentured servant, he gets the death penalty himself? This is a humane system. The servants aren't property.
Yeah, but
They'll
the
be
foreigners
fed and
are
housed by their master, and they'll have job security. In fact, these people are job creators, and you're trying to get in their way. Look, the servants can eventually buy their freedom.
I get what you're saying about that, Lord, but we're concerned about what you said about the foreign slaves. I'll put it up
let's stay on the Oh, yes.
screen.
Put it on
okay?
the
Look,
board.
you may buy slaves. They are to come from the nations around you. You can make
Make
them.
them slaves for life. Can I finish reading ad? Let's get this. Boom.
Them slaves for life, but you must not rule over your fellow Israelites ruthlessly.
Right, see, exactly. The Israelites must treat each other with kindness and respect. See?
But you're
I'm not
missing
talking
the
about
point. But Lord, what we see here pretty much describes the worst and most oppressive and inhumane forms of slavery the world will ever see.
But you're
It will be
not.
the shame of many nations to have once participated in exactly what you're
Again,
outlining.
why are you trying to make me look bad when I'm saying they have to free each other and
We're
treat each
talking
other
about the people that
humanely?
they don't have to free, Lord.
No,
Lord.
no, look, right? The Israelites are not slaves. They're indentured servants.
If I may, I'd like to voice a concern, and please just hear me out.
Please,
If you
bro.
go with that wording we've got here, people might think that buying slaves from other nations and making them slaves for life was in line with your inherent moral nature.
Well, look, that would obviously be a case of taking my words completely out of context, right?
No, it would be a matter of obeying them,
Look, I
Lord.
can take care of that. I'll blow that argument completely out of the water. Ready? Write this down.
All right.
Do not mistreat or oppress a foreigner. There. How can anyone now say that I'm ordering anything even remotely cruel?
So you're abandoning what we've got up here so far, then?
No, keep that. It's fine.
New Bible.
Well, it just simply contradicts what you've got here.
Well, I'd say that it complements what we've got here.
Lord, it might be helpful if I describe the characteristics of the slavery that we're trying to avoid. This is what the humans do, and then themselves abolish as being incredibly cruel. Their slaves come from the nations around them. From them, people buy slaves. The slaves become their property, and they make them slaves for life.
That's a totally
So
different...
they bequeath the slaves to their children as inherited
But
property.
again, that has nothing to do with how the Israelites are meant to treat each other.
This is
Look,
not
they had to
about
let
the
each other go at the
Israelites.
end of 6 years, and they had to treat each other humanely. Why won't you just...
Okay, Lord, just
We
one
are
more
not
thing.
talking
Can I read a
about
law that the
the
humans come up with
Israelite people.
themselves? Yeah, it might be something that you'd like to command yourself now, at the outset of human history.
Yeah, go on.
I'll just adapt it to this context. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist on earth.
Oh, if only that was in the Bible.
It just sounds like some kind of man-made morality,
That,
which
oh, the 13th Amendment of the Constitution.
obviously inferior to a divine commandment.
I don't think so,
But
Lord.
anyway, look, my commandments for the Israelites are pretty much the same as that any...
There are some, there's some things wrong with that, but it's a step forward from what I've been hearing in this Bible. I'm just saying.
They probably got that law from me. They're not to keep each other in slavery. They're only allowed to keep,
This video's almost over.
they're slaves in slavery.
Oh my gosh.
Foreigners.
And temporary residents living among them, and members of their clans, and the people whose cities they want to invade. Right? And actually, I like that bit about bequeathing the slaves to their children as inherited property. Put that in too, up there somewhere. But look, I just need to make it absolutely clear that Israelites aren't to do this to each other, because that'd be cruel, and I would never allow it, and it's totally different. Look, I think that's good now. Let's leave that as it is there. Was there anything else you wanted to get my opinion on?
44. Yeah, bro.
Well, the only other thing was genocide. Yeah. You're going to be very clearly against wiping entire peoples from the face of the earth, right, Lord?
Yeah, see, it's tricky, isn't it?
First Sam 15. Okay, yeah. Wow, that just made me more upset than like, man, I need like, I need to smoke a J after that, bro. I feel like I was in a conversation with a Christian, but it was the angels trying to have God be just morally, just act moral, you know? Dang, you know? R.I.P. my bro's eye, bro. But I remember, yeah, one thing I told him, like, he was just like, really? It's because, like, people, like, if you just go to church, don't pick up your Bible at all unless they tell you which segments to read. You can go without life, you know what I'm saying? Go throughout life, assuming as a Christian that God is obviously against slavery. But that's why I encourage people to take up the book and read it for themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because people will be like, what reason does the pastor have to lie to you? They have plenty of reasons to lie to you, bruh. You are their main source of income. They do not get taxed because they, you know what I'm saying? It's just different. So, oh, snap. Oh,
The smoke make it over here?
yes, sir. Yes.